Hi, everyone. My name is Odia Naholo. I'm a principal engineer in AppFabric. On with me?
Hey, folks. I'm Manat Patel. I'm one of the principal product managers on AppFabric. Thanks for being here.
Today, we're going to go through the challenges of working across multiple apps within our workspace, within our workplace. We're also going to talk about generative AI, the challenges of building AI features into apps. We'll also go under the hood a bit around how we built it, how it works, and introduce the generative AI feature in AWS AppFabric. Here's a screen I'm sure we're all familiar with. You start your day with a clean desktop, and as you're going through, as you're walking your day, you're opening a new tab, a new window, a new app, and before you know it, in a few minutes, you have this sprawl of SaaS apps. I know I use between 7 to 15 apps every day. I know I counted. It's a new normal. It's how we work, but it impedes our productivity. As you try to get work done, you're toggling between one app to the other. You're switching context and looking for information, and this hinders productivity for us because we are trying to discover pertinent information, the data that we need. We're going from one app to the other, trying to copy, paste, trying to find the information we need to be productive. According to research, we spend about 2 hours every day in switching context, in manually searching for information to perform the tasks that we need to do. And obviously, this impedes our ability to get work done. We all love our apps. We all love the various SaaS apps that we have, but we also want to be productive. We want the apps to cater to us. We want it to adapt to our work habits. Now, let's talk about Gen AI. Let's talk about the challenges of building Gen AI features into an app to solve real customer problems. First, developers need to build an assistant, who need to build an AI assistant, are often hindered by the amount of data they have. As we know, no data, no AI. So when you're building an AI assistant for your app, and you're a developer, you're often limited to the data that you have. This limits also the outputs of your AI assistant, because again, you won't have the context of the user across the apps that the user is actually using. But let's say you solve that problem. Let's say you have the data. Next question is, how do you make sense of it? How do you, given 5, 10 different apps with different data sources, different data schemas, different types of data, how do you make sense of it and use it within your app? How do you generate insights from this app? How do you correlate them one with the other? Soon after, you'll face the problem of privacy and data isolation. When you include generative AI in your app, you need to generate data for the user that is pertinent only to that user. Give them the data that they have access to, no more, no less. So when you're building generative AI, or any kind of feature really, when you pull data from an app, it's kind of like buying a car, a new car. Once the car leaves the showroom, you're not sure what to get. It loses in value. Same thing, when you pull data from an app, from an outside external source, the data then becomes, you need to maintain it in sync with the source of the data. And that's part of the challenge of building.
Awesome. Thank you, Odie. So, folks, really excited to introduce you to one of the newest features we launched on Monday. It's available in preview today, called AWS AppFabric for Productivity. And really, it's all about how do we help application developers build more personalized app experiences or enrich their existing AI capabilities with the context for multiple applications that we all use. So let's dive into this a little bit further. AppFabric provides generative AI-powered APIs that application developers can use to generate cross-app insights and actions. Now, what is insights? What should I actually be focused on? What do I best prepare for? Those are the types of insights that we're starting with now. But insights are only half of the story. what do I do with that insight? So we're also enabling actions. What is the next best action that I can take that allows me to act upon that insight itself, whether that be send an email, schedule a meeting, or create a task. Secondly, because we're using data across all these different applications, AppFabric is taking away all the complexity of building and managing integrations. We're taking it one step further also by normalizing the data all into a common schema as well. So when I think about an email, whether that be in Google or Mail, it's an email in our system because we've done all the hard work to normalize that data across the apps. Third, one of the core tenets of AppFabric is we want to meet users where they are today. We have no interest of taking users outside of your applications. So we see this as an enablement tool to really empower you to build and embed these capabilities directly into your UI and your applications themselves. And lastly, when we think about personalization, as Odie mentioned, we're really focused on user-level insights. Users have to authorize and select which applications that they want to be used to generate insights. And that allows us also to bring in which specific artifacts, which specific resources across their applications are actually used to help generate the output. And that then gives a lot more confidence in what generative AI does and builds a lot more trust in the responses here. Now, I've talked a little bit about this, but I actually want to show a real demo. So we've been working really closely with Asana to actually build and embed this capability into their application today. So what you'll see at the start of this demo is really the end user authorization step as they connect those individual applications. And then after that, you start to see the insights being generated on both sides of the screen. So what's really cool in this is Asana actually decided to embed the capabilities directly into their homepage, where lots of users actually see their daily tasks and projects, and now they want to actually bring in new cross-app data into their experiences. So what you see here now is I've connected a couple of applications, and I'm already starting to populate some cross-app insights into my homepage. What's really cool is you get a quick summary of what that insight is about, a couple sentences with the embedded links that say which resources actually powered this insight or generated this insight. And then you're seeing the ability now for also actions. Like I mentioned before, you can send an email, you can schedule a meeting, you can create a task. These are just starting points for our actions. But the great thing about this is the LLMs are actually building on top of the insights and generating content for this that allows the user to quickly edit that information and execute it, and it shows up and completes in another application altogether. The second type of insight you're about to see now on the right-hand side is our second API called meeting preparation. We all have upcoming meetings. Sometimes we get pulled into a meeting we're not even sure what we have to talk about. But now this is your new best friend because it's able to actually help you prepare on what is this meeting about, giving you a quick summary about that, as well as surfacing relevant information. So in this case, you're seeing the Jira issue being surfaced as part of this meeting preparation output, which now allows the user to have the details, all of their information at their fingertips now to best prepare for that meeting. So let's talk about these two APIs in detail, and it's specifically what we saw in the demo. The first one, like I mentioned, is called Actionable Insights. It helps me orient and figure out what do I need to pay attention to today? What is upcoming that requires my focus? So in addition to just generating that insight, like I mentioned, it allows you to also have those actions. Those actions are super critical so that you know not only what information you have, but then how to act on it afterwards. The second use case was around meeting preparation or meeting insights. And what's really cool is you'll notice Miro here is one of the other customers that we've been talking to about some of these ideas. And what they want to do is their users often dump all of their content into this collaborative whiteboard and then use that to organize their thoughts and best prepare for meetings. But with AppFabric now, they have a single API that can actually say, what is this meeting about, and bring you all the information directly to you. What's really nice about this use case is some of the ideas that we're talking about is they also want to extend this into their own AI capabilities. Miro AI Assist can actually now take all this information and build a presentation off of it or build an agenda. So now you're thinking about a world where you have all this extra data coming into your application, but now you can use the feature and functionalities of your existing apps that can build on top of it, which is really powerful stuff. And now I'll hand it back to Odie to tell us a little bit about how all of this works.
Thanks, Nance. So LLMs are smart. We all know that. You do a chatbot, you chat with an LLM, and then it gives you fantastic information. However, if I ask an LLM, what should I have for breakfast tomorrow? It will give me a generic breakfast idea, but will it know what is useful for me, what my preferences are? What did I have for breakfast yesterday? What do I like, what I don't like? Will it give me information that is relevant to me? Not likely. Why? Because the LLM does not have the context. It doesn't have my context, it doesn't know me. Now there is a new pattern that is emerging due to generative AI called retrieval augmented generation. It's a process of enriching the prompt to the LLM with the context of the user. So let's take the breakfast example again. If instead of asking the LLM, what should I have for breakfast tomorrow? Instead I ask it, okay, LLM, I had bread and eggs for breakfast yesterday. These are my preferences. These are the things I like and don't like. These are the things I like to cook. These are my allergies. Now, with all that context, what should I have for breakfast tomorrow? And then it will give me, because it knows me a bit better now, it gives me right information and a good suggestion of what makes sense. So this is all RAG is. It takes a prompt, enriches the prompt based on knowledge sources, and then it sends the prompt to the LLM to get information that is relevant to the person asking for the information. And now, how does AppFabric use RAG? There are kind of two major parts to RAG in AppFabric. Now I'm lifting the hood a bit to see how it works under the hood. The two major parts are these. In the first place, we need to build in data sources. We need to build a knowledge source. So remember what I said in the RAG, when you're asking, you need context to build the information, the context. Now, in the first place where the user gives permission, we build the context of the user. Now, the second part of it is where the user then asks, okay, what should I have for breakfast tomorrow? In the first place, the user owns their permission. They own which are the apps I want to get insights from. Remember, we are trying to enable the user to be productive across all their apps, not just in one. So the user will specify, right, I work in Slack, I have emails, I have projects in Jira or Asana, etc. The user then specifies, okay, for these my sources, these are the things I want you to help me be productive with. So the user specifies, this is my Asana project, this is my Slack channel, etc. Now this builds the knowledge sources so that we know the user a bit more. That's the first step. That's the one below where they grant permission. Now for the app developer, upwards, for the app developer to use AppFabric, then it can integrate with the APIs that Anand described, where you can get insights to better help you situate your day. And this is where RAG begins. So your app will call AppFabric, and AppFabric then takes those knowledge sources, pulls your data temporarily in a safe way encrypted. It temporarily stores it in an Amazon S3 bucket, like here. So at this point, we're pulling the data into S3, encrypting it, and then we generate what are called embeddings. Embeddings are vector representations of text. They're useful for search. So essentially, not random keyword search, but for what we call semantic search. What this means is that, using my breakfast example, if I do a search, a semantic search for breakfast, the question was, the user wants to know what to have for breakfast. When I do a search for breakfast, I will get from the vector database things that are similar to breakfast. So I might get things like bacon and eggs. I might get things like cereal, things that are semantically and in meaning similar to the query. So remember, in RAG, the first part is to do a search, get things that are similar, enrich the context. And that's what's happening here. we generate the embeddings for the user, populate the open search service so that we can do a search. This person is asking what to have for breakfast tomorrow. We get all the items that's in their context around breakfast, and then we send it to LLM. We are integrated with Anthropic via Amazon Bedrock, which is a new service for generative AI. So with the user context and LLM, we can give the user information that is relevant to their workday, relevant to the tasks that they're working on, relevant to the Slack messages that they have, to their emails, such that we can tell, like Anand demoed, we can tell the user, right, this is what's important for you. Because of that email message and the Slack account and the project that is, we have your context on a temporary basis, and we can tell you what's important in the meeting coming up. This is what you should read, etc.
Awesome. So we've spent a little bit about AppFabric now, and now just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, it's really easy to get started with this service. All you have to do is first register your application. You get access to the APIs that we've been talking about. Next is really on you to figure out how do I actually embed and build these experiences that my users will want. After the users authorize access to their data, then you're going to start seeing those insights. So I do recommend scanning the QR code if you're interested. It has a lot of resources for our tech documentation, FAQs, as well as a getting started guide to walk you through setup. All right, let's do some quick takeaways, and then we'll wrap up this evening. So we have talked a lot about bringing in data into other applications, and what does that actually mean for an app developer? Well, now you've created a much stickier app experience, and users are going to have better satisfaction, retention, and ultimately that can lead to better top-line growth. Secondly, we actually don't require end customers to have an AWS account to use this service. So they're allowed to actually, anyone can access and use the service after you build it. Secondly, we've talked about control and flexibility about the UI. You know your users the best, so we want to enable you to be able to build the right experiences. Third, when we talk about the resources around dedicated for building and managing integrations, normalizing data, AppFabric has now taken away all of that complexity, so it allows you to focus your resources on the right things. And lastly, when we think about AI and the quality of AI more broadly, I think the data in a single application is super powerful and it differentiates your business. But from a user perspective, all of their data is across multiple applications. So this service really provides an opportunity to bring all that data together and provide more useful and higher quality insights that are generated by generative AI. For those interested in learning more, we do have a couple more sessions tomorrow. We have a pretty exciting panel tomorrow morning where we have Asana, Miro, and Anthropic joining us. And then tomorrow afternoon, we're doing a deep dive on this service for about 60 minutes to do a little bit more about what we launched. And with that, I just want to say thank you all for joining and sticking around. Hope you're inspired to start thinking about how you can